Hi, this is Chris Peterson, host of the Penny Forward podcast. The Penny Forward podcast is completely produced by blind-owned businesses, including Taylor's Accessibility Services. Find her web hosting services and accessibility consulting services at taylorarndt.com. That's TaylorArndt.com. Also, we appreciate you listening to the Penny Forward podcast. If you appreciate us, we hope you'll consider providing a small donation to our tip jar to make this podcast possible. It only costs a small amount per episode to produce the Penny Forward podcast, and your assistance will be greatly appreciated. Again, thank you for being a Penny Forward podcast listener.
Welcome to the Penny Forward podcast. Penny Forward is a community of people who are blind, their families, and friends who share an interest in financial independence. Visit pennyforward.com to learn more about who we are and what we do. Join us now as we get to know people like us who are working towards their own success. Here is your host, Chris Peterson.
Our guest this week is Laurie Schaller. She works for the National Disability Institute. It's the same organization that Miranda Kennedy works for, and she is the manager of financial empowerment. That involves working with a number of different projects, but today she's here to talk with us mostly about assistive technology loans. Laurie, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Chris. We really appreciate the opportunity to share with your audience.
So who is NDI, and can you tell us a little bit more about your role there?
Sure. So National Disability Institute, or NDI, is the parent organization of the Assistive Technology Loan Program for New York and New Jersey, and also the ABLE National Resource Center. NDI also runs a number of other projects and initiatives, and NDI's entire focus is really to build a better financial future for people with disabilities and their families. At NDI, we envision a society in which people with disabilities have the same opportunities to achieve financial stability or wellness and independence as people who do not have a disability. So here at NDI, like you said, my title is Manager of Financial Empowerment, and I work on several projects here, including that Assistive Technology Loan Program, which is also called an Alternative Financing Program. And for the ABLE National Resource Center, I serve as a subject matter expert, and I'm credentialed as a CWIC, that's a Community Work Incentive Coordinator, and I have deep knowledge of the SSI and SSDI work supports. And I also serve as a credit and housing counselor and lending officer, and with a micro-lending program for many years prior to joining NDI staff.
We'll continue our interview in a moment, but first...
Let's be honest, starting a podcast can be a stressful endeavor. How do I get on iTunes? Who's going to do my album artwork? And are show notes really necessary? These are questions that I can help you answer. Check out superblink.org for more information. That's superblink.org.
Do you have a favorite budgeting, banking, or investing app? Tell us about it at 952-856-0313. If you missed that number, you can always find it at pennyforward.com/podcast.
Let's talk about assistive technology loans. What are they and how do they work?
Sure. So many people use assistive technology throughout their day, but we don't often refer to that as assistive technology. So assistive technology really includes the smartphones that we have, the computers. It could be a vision or hearing device, a smart home technology that makes lives easier, like lights going on automatically at a specific time, or the heat adjusting itself throughout the day, or the air conditioning. Assistive technology also includes accessible entryways, kitchens, bathrooms, and stair climbers. And one of the most expensive items is a modified vehicle and adaptive recreational equipment, and that can help people recreate in their communities. And they're also considered assistive technology. And for individuals who, based upon their type of disability, many people benefit from using a computer system that allows for text-to-speech or speech-to-text. And it provides vision tracking software, too, to help people, for example, work within a work site or from home. And it helps them to communicate and live more independently within their communities. And for the assistive technology loan programs across the United States, often loans are offered to provide business equipment for a person who has a disability. So in some instances, that equipment may not be modified, but the fact that that person needs an item to be able to proceed with their business, they can approach their state assistive technology loan program and ask. So what are assistive technology loans? Like you said, Chris, it's a loan designed to help that person who needs assistive technology make that purchase. And there are alternative financing programs available in most states and the U.S. territories as well. These programs offer an alternative to high-interest loans. And usually a bank or credit union will not provide a loan for assistive technology. And this is somewhat understandable. How do you secure, for example, a line of credit on a hearing aid? So most assistive technology vendors themselves offer financing for purchasing assistive technology, but usually the terms are expensive for borrowers. And the alternative financing programs, we make it possible for people to purchase that assistive technology of their choice. Each alternative financing program is different, and some offer credit building loans. For example, a person can make a deposit with that institution, and then after the agreed upon time of demonstrating that they can save regularly, they have access to that same money as a loan, for example, to make their assistive technology purchase. Sometimes their savings is matched, sometimes 4-to-1. But most of these programs offer fixed-term loans with few fees and very low interest rates. For example, the interest rate could average between 0 and 6% for that individual who needs that loan. So here at NDI, we contracted with 2 banks that issue and service our pre-qualified loans. And so in our contract with these financial institutions, NDI has agreed, for example, to buy down the interest rate. So we pay these banking partners to participate for each loan that is offered. And this way, the bank can still earn the money at the interest rate they prefer, but the borrower experiences an interest rate of only 4 or 6% interest. And in addition, if a loan should default, NDI guarantees the bank will be paid. NDI, however, will engage in follow-up collection activities so that we have money to lend to more people who need assistive technology. But we have not needed to do that to date. Our repayment rate is 100%. And our partnering banks have agreed to provide these loans with favorable lending terms, meaning it's easier for people to qualify for a loan through us than they could, in many cases, even through conventional credit. In many cases, a person may not have a credit history, or their credit score may have gone down because they've reduced their borrowing on their credit cards, for example, or they purchased their home years ago and paid for it in full, or maybe they purchased their last vehicle years ago, and now their credit score may have gone down. So these alternative financing programs can help them. And all the person really needs to demonstrate to qualify for these loans is that they can afford their monthly bills and they have money left over to pay the monthly loan payment, and they need to demonstrate an intent to repay a loan. So, for example, someone who has, outstanding credit that's in collections that they have no intent of paying back, really these alternative financing programs would not be able to help that person until they address those concerns. So this loan for assistive technology can be a credit building opportunity for a person. So a person doesn't need to have a credit score for most of our programs across the United States. They simply apply for the loan because they need assistive technology, and as they make timely payments, they're developing a positive credit score. And each of these programs has been funded by a different source. So here at NDI, our program received funding from the U.S. Department of Education.
Wow, that's a lot of information. And just to cover some of the points you made there, interest rates for some of these alternative financing programs are between 4 and 6%, which compares to credit cards, which are usually between 14 and 23 or 24%, sometimes higher. So this could mean that someone's making much, much lower monthly payments for the same amount of money that they're borrowing for assistive technology. Is that right?
That's correct, Chris. And we need to do that because we know our research here at NDI shows that a household that has a member who has a disability on average pays 28% more for their living expenses because of their disability needs. So we don't want the need for assistive technology to increase that even more. We want to provide these loans at an affordable rate. And in many cases, when someone calls our programs, we're scanning the community or the state to find resources available to help that person purchase or obtain that equipment that they need so that it could either reduce the amount of the loan request or eliminate the need for a loan totally, again, to help that family save money.
Oh, wow, that's pretty amazing. So let's talk about kids, because kids clearly can't apply for loans themselves, but can their parents apply for loans for technology to help them?
Yes. So for a youth, if they needed, for example, assistive technology in a school setting, in many cases, if that youth has an individual education plan, an IEP, within that IEP, they can request assistive technology that school system may provide for that youth. But often, because that school owns that equipment, for example, they haven't allowed youth to take that same device home to do their homework. So in many cases, families are approaching us to be able to purchase that backup equipment so the youth can use that in both settings. So to get one of our loans, the person simply needs to be age 18 or older, and they don't need to demonstrate, for example, that they themselves have a disability, simply that someone needs assistive technology.
Wow, that's really neat. Do you have a sense for what typical loan amounts and typical monthly payments are?
So a loan maybe for a hearing or a vision device might be in the range of like $4,500. So with our loan program over a 3-year repayment term, that monthly payment would be about $119 a month. So we have a senior who recently purchased a vision device to help her read the paper and her prescription bottles. So she's legally blind. She can see just a little bit. So she uses her device for those purposes. And she's almost finished now repaying her loans. And her only source of income, Chris, was her SSI. So that's like less than $800 a month. And yet she was able to afford that loan, and it has dramatically improved her life. Here at NDI, the AT loan program offers loans up to $30,000 with a term of up to 10 years for like a vehicle modification or a home modification. And those loan payments are about $333 a month or less. And then I'd like to share another story with your listeners. I received a call from a case manager in the New York City community, and they had met a person on the streets of New York City, and that person had just gotten a manual wheelchair. And the person who was using the wheelchair asked this person who called me to help push them down the street because they were really not able to use that manual wheelchair. They really needed a motorized wheelchair. So the case manager called me saying, I know the person can't afford to buy a new one, but how can you help this person out? So I gave her a couple referrals for possible reuse centers where a used motorized wheelchair could be obtained free of charge in many cases or at a lower fee than purchasing a brand new vehicle. But I shared with her, for the cost of a motorized wheelchair, she let me know how much she had seen that they were costing. The monthly payment was only $57 a month. And she said, holy mackerel, that would really be affordable for almost anyone. By calling, we had that opportunity to have dialogue, and now she understands how these loans are offered and that the purchase of assistive technology can be affordable in many cases.
I love that story. I love it how people are able to help other people in that way. Are there restrictions on the types of technology that can be bought with these loans? And is it part of the application process that you disclose what you're planning to use the money for?
So a person needs to provide a receipt for the assistive technology that they want to purchase, like a sales agreement. But really that person, I'll urge them to take their time researching what assistive technology may work best for them. So in each state, for example, there are AT demonstration programs. So I refer people to those programs so they can try out assistive technology, maybe meet with an occupational therapist or physical therapist who will make a recommendation of what they think will work best for that person's condition. And that's really their area of expertise to help that individual. Sometimes people come, their physician gave them a script already, but their medical insurance will not make that purchase of assistive technology for them. So I urge them to try it out before, they start the process of applying for a loan, so they're certain that that is what they really want. And people take their time. I mean, sometimes they contact us. I give them referrals. They're checking out different assistive technology to make sure that it will work for them. And then they might call me a year and a half later and start the application process for the loan.
If I get one of these loans, how will it impact my credit score? It sounds like you were saying that for some people this could help, but what happens when I take one of these out and make on-time payments, or what happens when I miss a payment?
Sure. So by our taking our time with this application process and seeing that the person is current with their monthly expenses, often I even provide referrals to help them with housing assistance, utility assistance, things of that nature. Really up front, we could see that this loan is going to be affordable for that person. But things come up, like last year with COVID, we see now that many expenses have gone up, regular household expenses. So if a person were to miss a payment, I would offer more referrals to them, make suggestions of possibilities of where they could cut back. Maybe they need to miss 1 or 2 months of payments, but what we can do together to keep them on track to be able to make these timely payments so that their credit score will either be developed in a positive manner or improved so they have a higher score at the end of the day. Several people who have gotten loans with us, they had no credit score when they applied, and then simply by paying that one loan on time over 3 years, they now have a score of, close to 640. So that's a good start.
That's a great start.
So these loans are always reported on that person's credit report. And again, each of these programs across the United States does that reporting differently, but that's an important piece to this program to help that person develop a positive credit history. So if I got another call, Chris, from somebody the other day. They had gone to vocational rehabilitation and they needed a modified vehicle in order to get themselves to their job each day. So VR told them that they would be able to do the $2,000 installation of hand controls for that vehicle, but the person needed to take on the responsibility of purchasing the vehicle. So the person ran to a buy here, pay here car dealer, purchased their car, and when they shared that with vocational rehabilitation, VR sent them to us. And I said, gee, do you know what interest rate you got that buy here, pay here car that's going to be modified now? And the person really didn't know. But when they shared with me their monthly payments and that they had like 6 years to pay on this used car, I realized that they purchased a car at 24% interest. So, I urged that person, we could refinance that vehicle and lower their interest rate down to 4%, and that would save them more than $6,000 on that $6,000 used vehicle purchase to help them. So it's better if people reach out to us first. We can talk about options and try to get them into the right financing that's going to meet their need.
I didn't even know you could purchase a car at 24%. That scares me. But I'm so glad that you're here to help people to realize that is not their only option. And clearly you know about other options besides loans. So what are some other options for getting assistive technology for less money or for free, or just what are the options?
So sometimes a used item simply is not available. Medical insurance, grant programs, schools, colleges, or even like Department of Labor sometimes will pay for assistive technology, but in many cases the responsibility of purchasing that AT remains with the family or the person who needs that item. Often AT can be very, very costly, not only in terms of the purchase price, but as a result of financing terms. And, what I'm talking about is often the AT vendors themselves offer financing, and they may offer, for example, tickler rates that it's 0% interest maybe for 6 months. But if a person misses a payment, it goes up to 18% interest back to the date the person got the loan. So they could end up owing a lot more money. So there's something new on the scene now, these ABLE accounts. And I know that you interviewed Miranda Kennedy, the director of the ABLE National Resource Center, last month. But an ABLE account, it's an excellent resource if people wanted to learn more about ABLE accounts to go to the ABLE National Resource Center. And ABLE accounts are tax-advantaged savings or investment accounts for a person who has had a disability or blindness that began prior to age 26. So, for example, that person who has a diabetic condition maybe, and it caused blindness after the age of 26, well, chances are that person still has a diabetic condition. So they really had a disability prior to age 26, even if they didn't receive their SSI or SSDI until after age 26. At our website, ABLE National Resource Center, we have a disability certification that a person can take to their physician and ask that they complete it, indicating that their disability onset began prior to age 26. And then that person can open an ABLE account. An ABLE account is a protected savings and or investment account that does not impact means-tested benefits. So the savings, that can be spent at any time. And one of the qualified disability expenses is assistive technology and home modification, for example. So ABLE accounts are prohibited from being used to secure credit, but like if somebody were to call our loan program and they share with us, that they've been able to save regularly within their ABLE account, well, I know that they would be able to afford regular monthly payments with our loan program. And they could use their ABLE savings, maybe even as a down payment if they choose to, for that loan. And that can help, again, to reduce the overall amount of interest that they would pay on their loan. So an ABLE account makes it possible really for that person to save for a down payment or to purchase their own assistive technology outright. But it also offers a chance to use their ABLE account to purchase AT while improving their credit. An ABLE account owner who works can use their ABLE account along with Social Security disability work supports like those blind work expenses or impairment-related work expenses or even a PASS plan And the ABLE is really the perfect way for that person who has a disability to leverage that ABLE account and those work supports to develop a positive credit history by making the purchase of assistive technology if it is necessary for that person. So your Penny Forward listeners are welcome to go to ablenrc.org to learn more. And I'd really like to encourage your listeners to follow along with our hashtag Able to Save National Grassroots Awareness Building campaign throughout the month of August. And we'll be sharing a wealth of great, easy to use, and accessible information about ABLE accounts and how to make the use of them. And again, check out that podcast that we did with Miranda Kennedy to learn more about the ABLE accounts.
Yeah, do that. You can go to pennyforward.com, and there's a link to the ABLE NRC there, as well as a link to the episode with Miranda that Laurie's talking about.
We'll continue our interview in a moment, but first...
When it comes to money, do you feel a little lost? When you're in an unfamiliar financial environment and need a hand in understanding the lay of the land, Penny Forward is here to help. We provide affordable one-on-one and group financial education programs that give you the confidence to get out there and achieve your goals. Visit pennyforward.com to learn more about who we are and what we do.
Do you have a short success story you want to share on the air? Leave us a message at 952-856-0313. If you missed that number, you can always find us at pennyforward.com/podcast.
Where can we go to get more information about these loans? Do you want to give out a phone number or anything where people can reach you?
Sure, that's fine too, Chris. So let me give two options. So a person can go to our website, and for example, our program offers AT resource guides, one for New York State residents and a second resource guide for New Jersey residents. And you can also find at our website, for example, if you live in another state, Michigan, Pennsylvania, you want to find your local assistive technology loan program, you can Google National Disability Institute.org and scroll down to the Assistive Technology Loan Program, and you'll find those resource guides and or a listing of the 46 alternative financing programs available across the United States. And we have recorded webinars. So, for example, we have highlighted a vision device, and there's a recording of that shared information available at our website. We have recorded recreational wheelchairs for wheelchair users, and a new wheelchair that's newly on the market for those who need a tight turning radius, for example, maybe in their workplace, and they want to get some exercise while using their wheelchair as well. So there's all kinds of different information posted at our website. And my direct phone number is 202-449-9521, and I'm usually here from 8 until 5 Eastern Time each day.
Wow, thank you for that. And let's talk about the application process a little bit. Paperwork can be hard for somebody that's blind. Are there accessible applications? Can it be done over the phone or online? Or what are the options there?
Yeah, so most of these alternative financing programs have made sure that their website is accessible for screen reading software, and we know that our application is also accessible. I got a call from someone just the other day. The AT vendor said this person's really going to need some help completing the application. So I called the person. I asked if they needed help over the phone to complete the application. They said, well, how about if you just mail it to me and then I have a family member who can help? And that person is legally blind. So, I got the application off to them in the mail, and, I invited them to call me through that process of completing the application. But we even have a recording on our website that informs people how to complete the application, and at the same time, we're providing referrals to help individuals reduce their monthly expenses. And at the end of that presentation, a person has really completed a spending plan, which I think is so crucial to a person reaching their financial goals. So even if someone doesn't want an assistive technology loan, they're welcome to participate in that orientation session to learn how to complete a spending plan so that they can reach their financial goals in the future.
And it doesn't matter what state they're in to participate in that, right?
Correct.
Well, very good. And you gave out your contact information, and you work with people in New York and New Jersey, but are you willing to work with people outside of that area to help them find things in their state?
Well, I would direct or provide the contact information for the alternative financing program for that person's state of residence. But again, people can look that up at our website. We have a listing of all the programs available across the United States and the U.S. territories as well.
Just in case people missed it, do you want to give out the website again?
Sure. So that's nationaldisabilityinstitute.org.
All right. We'll put some links up on pennyforward.com to some of those things so people can find them through there. Also, Laurie, this has been very educational. Lots of good stuff here and really good advice for people that are trying to figure out how to pay for expensive technology. Thanks for being here. Is there anything that I didn't think to ask you that I should have asked before we go?
I think that these programs are some of the best kept secrets of resources available for people who are regular users of assistive technology. And so I think it's important to have that dialogue about what assistive technology is, all the types of equipment that is included in that, and that people are proving every day that they can afford assistive technology and how it dramatically improves their lives. And these ABLE savings accounts to see what resources are available at the ABLE National Resource Center can really help to change a person's perspective of, people have described themselves trying so hard to retain benefits and how that has kept them in poverty. ABLE creates that opportunity to have rich dialogue about how now that person can invite family and friends, and they can use their own money rather than needing to spend down to retain their benefits to save. And they now are identifying themselves as savers. I think that's a tremendous turnaround for individuals, let alone the improved quality of life and greater participation within their communities. And a lot of people, when they contact us, they aren't even aware that they're allowed to work. They thought because they received SSI and or SSDI that they were prohibited from working. In fact, they are encouraged to work to their fullest ability, and we provide webinars on that topic and provide resources to help people achieve those goals as well.
Well, thanks again, Laurie, for being here. I really appreciate it. I hope to have you on again soon.
Great. Thanks so much, Chris. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
We hope you've enjoyed this week's episode of the Penny Forward podcast. Penny Forward is a community of people who are blind, their families, and friends who share an interest in financial independence. Visit pennyforward.com to learn more about who we are and what we do. Until next time, from all of us in the Penny Forward community, thanks for listening.